did you know that building $1 million business is like building a sports dynasty? Think about it. The Bulls, the Lakers, the Cowboys, the Yankees, the Steelers, the Edmonton Oilers, all of these are sports dynasties, but they weren't built overnight. Instead, you have to go through these 7 steps. And when you do, or when they did, they became champions. And when you do it for your business, you'll become a millionaire. Number 1 is talent recruitment. In 1984, it was the most famous of all NBA drafts. The first pick, not Jordan. The second pick, not Jordan. If it was, you would have heard about the 5-time champion Portland Trailblazers. But no, instead, Jordan went 3rd. And that talent development decision by the Bulls and the talent development mistake by the Trailblazers totally changed the next 20 years of basketball. So think about this. The hardest work to be done in a business is not coming up with the big idea. It's building the team to support the idea. And so if you look at entrepreneurs that get to a couple $100,000 and you compare them against the entrepreneurs that get to $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, and $1 billion, there's one massive difference. The entrepreneur that gets stuck, that is struggling to overcome that couple $100,000 of revenue ceiling, that person is doing it all themselves. They think there's no one as good as them. They have a big ego that gets in the way, and they aren't out there looking for talent. But research shows that the CEOs of big businesses are focused and relentless on finding great talent. And look at college football coaches. These multi-million-dollar coaches are going across the country into the living rooms of teenagers and begging their parents for them to come and play for them. That's the level of talent recruitment that great sports dynasties go to. And so I remember there was one famous quote about Jordan's draft year. The director of the Portland Trailblazers, whoever it was making that draft decision, called some expert and said, "What do you think about Jordan? We don't need somebody, a point guard, we need a center." And the guy said, "Great, put Jordan at center. He's that good. You just have to draft Jordan." And then they made that mistake. The Bulls didn't, and the rest is history. So after you have talent development, you have the right people in the right seats on the right bus, as Jim Collins says in Good to Great. Now it's time to bring out the playbooks. Every great sports team has plays, and they practice those plays, and they perfect those plays, and they execute on those plays. And it's because of that playbook that they're able to go out and win championships. You know, maybe it's a pick and roll play, or maybe it's the legendary power sweep by Vince Lombardi. Whatever it is, they have their plays. Now, same as your business. You need a play for lead generation. You need a playbook for sales. You have to have scripts. You have to have ads that are working to get the leads for the sales scripts. You have to have a playbook for your customer service. What happens when somebody can't download your product? Do you have SOPs, standard operating procedures, in place for making angry customers happy, raving fans again? Do you have a playbook for putting in upsells to maximize your average order value so that you can grow the revenue of the business? Do you have a playbook for the meetings for your team so that you build the culture and coach them up in a way that every great talent needs to be supported? If you don't have a playbook in one of those areas or in any of those areas, realize that not having playbooks is what holds you back. So having a great coach or mentor who can give you the blueprint, the playbook, the 90-day plans, everything that you need so that there's a step-by-step system for you achieving success might be what you're missing. So that's easy to solve. Just go and make sure you find the right mentor for your business to give you those playbooks and get you on that path to success. Now, the third step in building a sports dynasty or in building a great business is practicing and executing the basics. So I mentioned Vince Lombardi's power sweep before. Vince Lombardi, one of the most famous coaches in football, of course, the trophy is named after him. He had a play that he used with the Green Bay Packers called the power sweep. And Lombardi was famous for saying, when we run the power sweep, we don't expect it to be successful 18 or 19 times out of 20. We expect it to be successful 20 out of 20 times. And they ran that play over and over again. And they practiced it probably 100,000 times during his career as the Green Bay Packers coach. It's simply blocking and tackling that are the foundations of business as well. You need to come in, do the same things, generate the leads. You need to practice the sales calls so that your team has it down. In my business, every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, we get all of our sales guys on one call and we role play. We drill every single week. And that is how we have become superior and successful in sales. John Wooden, a famous NCAA basketball coach from way back in the day, in the very first day of the season, he would have his team members put on their socks. That's right, he would teach them and drill them on how to put on their socks properly. Because if they didn't put on their socks properly underneath their basketball shoes, they would get a blister. If they got a blister, they couldn't practice. So that's how basic that sports dynasties go in the drilling of the blocking and tackling, metaphorically, to make sure that they're going to be successful. Because if you don't have the foundation, you can't build a championship team. The fourth thing that sports have, a sports dynasty has, that you need to have in your business is scorekeeping, right? That's what makes sports so addictive. Seeing one team score more than the other, or seeing a golfer get a lower score than all the others. If there wasn't score and we were just watching it for its artistic beauty, we wouldn't be addicted to the thrilling adrenaline rush of sports. Now, over in your business, if you're not keeping score, how do you know if you're even being successful? First of all, you have to keep basic revenue and track it against expenses to make sure that you have profit in your business. Man, this is such a beginner basic mistake. A lot of businesses have all this money coming in, but they have all the money going out and they aren't keeping anything. And maybe you've been in that situation where it's like, I don't get it. The expenses are always as high as the revenue. Well, you're not keeping score well enough. You don't have an expert keeping score for you. You don't have the right accounting team. And so you need to make sure that you're keeping score properly of the cash. Then you have to make sure that you're keeping score properly of KPIs in the business, key performance indicators for each person on your team. Now, you don't need 7 to 10 key performance indicators for each individual. 2 to 3 is going to be good enough. But that allows you to see their performance. If they weren't giving out assists and goals and tracking that in hockey, well, how would we know who's the most valuable player on the team? If they weren't keeping track of home runs and batting percentage and doubles and singles, who would we know is the batting champion in baseball? We have to be keeping score to know who's doing well in our business and the areas in which need improvement. Then, finally, the next is culture and innovation. Was a very famous management expert named Peter Drucker, and he said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. I remember a few years ago in the NCAA tournament, there was an underdog team called Butler University, and they were not expected to get to the Final Four. They didn't have any superstars, they weren't famous, they weren't expected to be successful, and yet here they were because of their culture, their teamwork, their sacrifice for one another, that they were able to upset so many teams with future NBA stars on them because they played together better. They had been brought together by culture. And we've seen this over and over and over again in sports where a team just outperforms their expectations because of what they've built. It's intangible. And so in your business, does everybody understand the vision and mission? Is everybody showing up and, quote unquote, giving 110% because there's something bigger that they're being a part of? Take a look at Patagonia, one of the world's most successful companies in outdoor wear. Well, listen, yeah, they're about profits, but they're about much more than that. They're about taking care of the environment. They're about providing an incredible experience for their customer. And the customer wants to be part of that culture, and the team members want to be part of that culture. And so the team members stay a long time. They probably go that extra mile to do the work that continues to foster that culture and innovation in the company. So go to your team and say, like, do you know our core values? Do you know our vision? Do you know our mission? Is this inspiring you to show up and do your best work? I know in my business, I'm incredibly grateful for the team members that we have that have been there for over a decade. The team members that come to me proactively with ideas because they want to see the company improve. They want to help change more people's lives. And so if you remember nothing else about this section, just understand that people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves. That's why so many of us are addicted to sports. We're not out there playing. We don't actually have any impact on the game, and yet we're all decked out in the gear. We live and die about the team because being associated with that team is something bigger than ourselves. And that's why so many people, for better or for worse, spend so much time and energy devoted to sports teams. Because it's addicting to see that scorekeeping, but also because now they're a part of something that makes them feel better. And you can foster that in your business as well. The next thing is RTD, the resilience, toughness, discipline factor. If you look at every single team, every single individual athlete, for example, like Michael Phelps, 10 hours in the pool every single day for over a decade, that's what got him 23 or 28 gold medals. And everybody wants to be like Michael Phelps and have that many gold medals, but nobody has the resilience, toughness, and discipline to spend 10 hours in the pool, right? We all want these great rewards, but we're not willing to do the work that makes us deserving of them. The people that do get to 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures in their business, they are focused, they are resilient. So on a day when everything goes wrong, and that will happen when you're a business owner, they're resilient. They show up, they're tough, they come back the next day, and they follow their disciplines. They have a strong morning routine. They have habits all day long that keep them focused and on track. They're not off scrolling, they're not off wasting time, they're not gossiping, they're not watching television, they're not watching too much Netflix at night, they're not drinking too much. They have to have the discipline, the sacrifice now. As Muhammad Ali said, I'm going to sacrifice today because of the greatness that I'll always have because of the sacrifices made. So you have to say to yourself, am I resilient enough? Am I tough enough? Am I disciplined enough? If those things are lacking, you could have a great playbook, but if you're not disciplined enough to follow it or to get up in the morning and take action and sell every day, well, you're not going to get ahead. You're not going to have the breakthroughs. You're not going to grow your revenue. If you're not tough enough to show up when you feel under the weather, when you're tired, when you have some struggles at home, maybe a struggle in your relationship with your spouse or your partner, if you're not tough enough to overcome that and mentally set it aside so that you can focus on growing your team, well, again, you're only going to get so far. So resilience, toughness, and discipline is an intangible factor that obviously we see in sports every single day, but it has to be seen in your business every single day as well. And then finally, my favorite of the 7 ways that building a sports dynasty is like building $1 million business is coaching and accountability. Entrepreneurs like to think that they're the superstar of the business, but I like to change it up. When you're the coach of your team in your business, you can't go out on the court and score any points. Like for example, with Phil Jackson, when he ran the Bulls, he could not step on the court, do a layup, and have those points count towards the game. No, all he could do is get Jordan and Pippen and Rodman and Steve Kerr. Those guys were the only people that could score the points to win the game. Phil Jackson, all he could do was coach. He could give these guys an environment in which they could flourish. He built that culture. He helped them practice, but he couldn't actually score the points. And that, if you want to be a 7-figure entrepreneur, if you want to grow an 8-figure business, if you want to be a billionaire, you have to realize you can't do all of the work in the business. You have to let it go. And you have to make other superstars in your business. There's a great quote from Steve Jobs. He says, "We don't hire great people to tell them what to do. We hire great people so that they can tell us what to do." So being a coach in a 7 or 8-figure or 9-figure business requires you to set your ego aside, to hire people who are better than you at everything. to give them an environment in which they can continue to get better, and give them an environment in which they enjoy working and they love the culture. And when you have that in place, all of a sudden, you're gonna find yourself doing less in the business, but working more on the business. And that is the piece of the puzzle that allows you to scale. Because you can't do it all yourself. You can only get so far as a one-person show. And you have to be the coach. And you have to be the coach who they look up to, so that they come to you and you can hold them accountable to getting their work done, scaling your business, so that they make more money, you make more money, and you all have a greater impact on the world, and you build a dynasty of a business. Like Jordan helped the Chicago Bulls build their dynasty, like Wayne Gretzky helped the Edmonton Oilers build their dynasty, like Troy Aikman helped the Cowboys build another dynasty. That's what it's about. And so, if you want to build that $1 million business, put these 7 principles into play immediately, and you're going to see your business start to grow, and you're going to be more successful, and you're going to live the life of your dreams, and you're going to be a champion in every area. Now, if you need help, if you need the coaching and accountability so that you can become a greater coach for your team, so that you can go and recruit better talent, have better playbooks, build a better culture, so that you can rack up the score, then, like I said, you do need a coach, and I'm that guy for you. So go to craigballantyne.com/apply, and we'll put this into place for your business so that you can grow and scale and live the life of your dreams.